Hello, I'm Jason Matthews, owner of Matthews Painting Company near Warsaw, Indiana. We continue our tutorial videos that we show each of our new employees who we train to become professional painters. You're going to hear some road noise in the background, so we're off of a highway. But today we're going to be talking about just basic scraping. Now this does vary depending what you're scraping. You know, if you're scraping concrete block, wood, there's a lot of different surfaces that have failing paint. We're just going to practice on some plywood siding, which is on a shed here at our shop. And we have a few things that we use. I'm going to show a sample of each of these tools. One is a wire brush with a little handheld scraper on it. We have what's called a 5-in-1 tool, and we use this portion right up here for scraping. This is an actual scraper, and it's got a knob on it, and I'll show you why that is in a little bit. It's also got a real sharp carbide blade up here that you have to be very careful with. You can not only cut yourself, but you could start digging up the wood if you do too much scraping. And then we use a piece of 50 or 60 grit sandpaper. Now sometimes we use a combination of all three, or sometimes just a couple, so it really depends. So we're just going to do a little sample for you. And if you want to get a little closer here, I'm going to get started. So first I'm going to start out with the actual scraper that's got the knob. And I find if you push with some pressure here on the knob and drag backwards, you do a lot less damage to the wood. And so I'm going to start doing some scraping. I'm going to purposely damage this. If I go forward, I feel like I start taking off some of the wood and causing too much slivering. Now you can go forward and back and forth like this, but I would not push as hard when you're doing that. So I am going to go ahead and scrape, push a little bit of pressure. Notice how I'm going back. I just like to do that so that, again, I'm not damaging as much wood. I said that plenty of times, didn't I? But I am going to go up and down as well. I'm going a little softer now. I'm going to come from this direction. And the reason I like to come from all directions is because sometimes you have a piece of paint that's lifting this way. Well, if I come from that direction, it's going to pop that a little bit better. You'll do a much better scrape job. At this point, I like to get my 5-in-1 tool. This lays down a little bit more. So when I'm scraping, it's more pushing along the surface. This I can actually lay down and I can get under any more remaining lifting paint chips. And I come from both directions, left and right, and then up and down. Sometimes there's a little fraying or slivering going on, and a wire brush can take care of that and knock some of the fray and slivers off, but it can also knock a little bit more paint off. I pushed pretty hard a few times. You are also able to use this little scraper if you wanted to. And then what we do is we take a piece of sandpaper, 50 or 60 grit, so very, very coarse. We rip it in half and then we go ahead and fold it in thirds. I just feel like that's a really good size for our painters. And then I'm just going to hit this a few times, and that knocks off just a little bit more, and I'm even going to go against the grain here. Now the reason I can go against the grain is because we're going to paint that, and you're not going to see the scratches of going against the grain. That's typically something you wouldn't do if you're staining a house or a deck, but just a couple hits like that, and that is a properly stained surface. You can see all of our paint chips down there, all different sizes. So if you liked what you saw, give us a thumbs up on our YouTube page, or for more information, you can contact us at matthewspainting.com.